Life is a journey that we all taken. Every step is guided by its own rules and law. So come, come, come to download. Come, come, come to download. Family law, employment law, and corporate law, commission of homes and all the other laws, professional and friendly services we give you all. For all your immigration law, family law, employment law, business and corporate law, welfare benefits, charity law, will, commission of all litigation, come to Town Law Solicitors or simply visit our website on www.townlaw.co.uk or simply call us on 024 776 32323. Town Law Solicitors, professional and friendly service. Life is a journey that we all taken. Every step is guided by its own rules and law. So come, come, come to download. Come, come, come to download. Download to download. Family law, employment law, and corporate law, commission of homes and all the other laws, professional and friendly services we give you all. For all your immigration law, family law, employment law, business and corporate law, welfare benefits, charity law, will, commission of all litigation, come to Town Law Solicitors or simply visit our website on www.townlaw.co.uk or simply call us on 024 776 32323. Town Law Solicitors, professional and friendly service.
Hello, my name is Andrew Yamayaro, and I'm a solicitor at Town Law Solicitors. Today, I would just want to answer the questions that you might have in terms of immigration, United Kingdom immigration. So if you have got any questions, just put them in the comments, and then I should be able to respond to your questions as much as I can. But whilst I wait for the questions to come in, I'm just going to comment on a few immigration issues or matters, and then I can then respond to your questions if you've got any questions at all. Today, there was a cabinet reshuffle. Boris Johnson reshuffled his cabinet, and people maybe were hoping that Priti Patel might be moved. It looks like Boris Johnson is happy with her performance. She has been retained in her position as the Secretary for the Home Department. So we are going to have some more years or time with Priti Patel. So I think that is some kind of not so good news because she is one person who is seeking to make difficult immigration laws in the United Kingdom. So many amendments coming and amendments that have been tabled and deportations that have been happening to such an extent that chartered planes are leaving the country with sometimes 7 people and some of them have been cancelled last minute. But she's such person who's determined to have people deported or removed from the United Kingdom. We've also seen that the situation of the asylum seekers is also being made difficult with the new laws that are being proposed. For example, housing asylum seekers outside of the United Kingdom and not getting indefinite leave to remain. Or they say that they'll be targeting the traffickers, but who knows really what will be happening. So Priti Patel has retained her position as the Secretary for the Home Department. And again, in the news today was the young lady, Shamina Begum, who was on ITV News today, and she still wants to come to the United Kingdom to fight a case. As all of you, or most of you would know, she left the United Kingdom when she was about 15, 16 years old and went to Syria, where she joined ISIS, and she got married there, and her British nationality was revoked, or she was deprived of her British nationality. And questions that people have been asking is, can British nationality be nullified, or can someone be deprived of their British nationality? And the answer is that it is possible for someone who has got British nationality to have it nullified, or to be deprived of their British nationality. What comes to my mind are situations where, for example, someone used false information, false identity, and that can bring about a nullification of your British citizenship, or where it is for public good, public security, public interest. British nationality can also be removed from you. And especially when there is national security, like in this case of the young lady Shamina Begum, there was issues of national security, and British citizenship was revoked, and the British government seeks to argue that she can revert to your parents' nationality. I think it is from Bangladesh. She still wants to fight her case. So while it is very difficult for your if you have naturalized as a British person, and it will be difficult for your British citizenship to be removed, it's still possible to be removed under those circumstances that I have mentioned to yourselves. We have also noted that there is delays with the Home Office making decisions. So people are waiting long times to have their asylum interviews. We know of people that have waited for 12 or more months, and applications that have been made, whether it's a limited leave to remain applications. People are still waiting for long times. In fact, I think the Home Office has since removed in its policy the 6 months is the time which they can make the decision. And the reason is that there's been delays with the COVID-19. There's been a backlog that has been created. So most decisions taking long to be made. So we do get people saying that my decision has been delayed and so forth. It's because the Home Office, as they say, they have a lot of backlog that is there. Okay, so if you want to avoid the backlog, all you need to do is when you make your application, you need to pay an additional fee for your case to be considered under priority. So you can pay, off my head, is £800 that you can pay, and then your decision will be made within 48 hours, and you'll get your biometric card after about 5 working days and so forth. If you have already made an application that is pending and you want to expedite your application, you can't make it priority at that stage. You might consider submitting a new application and then withdrawing the old one when the new one having paid the priority fee, and you withdraw the old one, but you should have enough money really, because you have to pay new fees, and then once the old one which has been withdrawn, you can then get refunded for that. So I've got questions that are coming in now, so I'm going to scroll through and see which questions I can pick on from what people have said. How can I come and work over there? That is quite a general question. There is no UK doesn't just necessarily say you have to just come and work just like that. There is certain jobs that are on the skilled shortage list. So I think you have to look on that list, and then you can be able to come to work in the United Kingdom. Look on the list and try to get recruiters who have got a sponsor license. So many companies are applying for the sponsor license, especially in the healthcare industry. So many people have applied. Some have gone public about it. Some have remained private about it. But you can come to the United Kingdom for the jobs that are on the skilled worker list, if I put it that way. If you want the link, I can then give you a link later on. You can send us an email and I can give you the link where you can get the jobs. So it's not every job that you can come to do. I know that for a fact at the moment that there's a shortage of drivers, of haulage drivers, HVG drivers, but I think the government might add them to the list, but as it stands, they are not yet there. And because of COVID and Brexit, there's a shortage of those drivers. The next question is, how can you get papers when you are an asylum seeker for deportation orders, but if you've got an 8-year-old child with a British passport? So if you've got a deportation order, the first thing is that you have to make representations to the Home Office so that the deportation order might be removed. And then if they've removed the deportation order, then they can then consider your family life with the child who has got 8 years and is a British citizen. And if you are the sole carer of that child, that might give you more advantage, maybe as compared to a situation whereby you stay with a British partner. I'm not saying people should be separated, but it might give an advantage. It is also important under those circumstances, if you've got a deportation order, to get a report from a criminal psychologist or so that they can see that you don't have the tendencies to reoffend. And you might also need to get an independent social worker report so that they can come and assess your situation and have see your child, talk to your child, and make a report for the Home Office and the court. And again, would also advise you having a country expert report to show that if you go back home, what is the conditions in the country that you're going to? Are you going to be safe or you're not going to be safe? What is the economic situation? What is the medical situation if you've got any medical problems, and so forth. So I will advise you to get those 3 reports, make further representations to the Home Office, get all the supporting evidence such as letters from school, family and friends, church, any voluntary work that you do, and so that you have reformed, you are now a reformed person. You are no longer, you don't have the tendency to commit any further crimes in the United Kingdom. Are there specific testing centers for TB? For TB test, does it matter where you get it in terms of the country? Can you go to a country where the TB test is cheaper? As long as the TB test, under the circumstances your question is referring to someone who wants to come to the United Kingdom for a period which is over 6 months and they need to be tested for TB. In most countries, the United Kingdom has designated particular laboratories to be their agents, or they've approved them to do TB tests. So if you are required to do a TB test, don't just go to any laboratory or a testing center. Go on the gov.uk website and search for the approved laboratories. So it doesn't matter whether it's in your country or in a neighboring country. In some countries, they don't even have any approved laboratories, so they have to go to a country that is next to them. I know that in some of the countries I've got in mind, in Central Africa, where some of the countries have, some people have to go to, say, Uganda or Kenya or DRC to be tested there. So it doesn't matter where exactly you are tested, as long as you have done it with an approved TB testing center. And as to the fees, I don't know how much they charge. You'll have to check with the laboratories how much they charge, because I think each laboratory will determine their own cost, and then you can compare with the fees. Does the payment of 800 have a chance of good news? I think the question is referring to a situation whereby someone has paid an additional £800 for a priority service. So it does not necessarily give you a good chance of good news, or does it affect your prospects of success or give you better or worse prospects in your application. All that you are doing is jumping the queue. So instead of you waiting, like I said, in this instance, most leave to remain applications are turning around after 6 months. So if you pay the £800, your decision will be made within 48 hours, and within 10 working days, you get your biometric card, or you will get your naturalization certificate, and then you can then attend the naturalization ceremony. So the 800 is helping you to jump the queue, and your decision will be made quicker, rather than to continue waiting, being anxious about the decision of the Home Office. How can we renew a biometric card which are about to expire? If you give me more details on that question, because a biometric card is just evidence of your leave to remain in the United Kingdom. So it might be that your actual visa is expiring. So if you were given a visa for, say, 2.5 years, then it might be expiring. Or if you were on a 3-year visa or a 5-year refugee status, it might be about to expire. But however, if you are on settlement, for instance, if the biometric card has got an expiry date, it's not your settlement that is expiring. It's not your indefinite leave to remain that is expiring. It is the biometric card itself. Just like if you have got a driving license in the United Kingdom, you don't cease to be a driver when your driving license card expires. It's because they want you to renew the card for reasons that you might have changed your facial appearance and things like that. So it's just you renewing the card. In that instance, then you just need to make an application for a biometric replacement. Or if you have actually lost the card, you can make an application for a biometric replacement. Of late, I've been receiving questions with people who had their leave to remain stamped in their passport, or a vignet was put in their passport, or they had the A4 paper with their visa. And that is now uncommon these days, particularly with employers. If you go with a visa that is in an expired passport, most employers will refuse it. Or if you go with an A4 paper, most employers are not comfortable with that. They will not give you the job. And the Home Office has phased that out. And anyone who has got those odd type of leave to remain, I advise you and encourage you to apply for a biometric card if you want to just remain on your visa. And for those who qualify for naturalization, and if they wish to do so, I also advise you to just go and naturalize. So that is the issue with the biometric cards. You can replace it, or you can do a no time limit application, or a biometric replacement application, either of the two, to deal with that. But if it is because the visa has expired, then you just need to make an application to extend your visa if it was a limited leave to remain. Can I come for a visit? What do they require? Yes, you can come to the United Kingdom on a visit. There are so many various reasons why people want to visit the UK. Some visit to study on a short-term study. You have got a 6 month course, or it might be 11 months course. You can get a visitor's visa. Some people visit the United Kingdom for medical reasons. You're coming for private medical treatment, or you're visiting family and friends, which is just a standard visa. Some come to perform, artists. We recently had the Zoom Fest, and there's other festivals that happen. People can come and perform. And there's also reasons of just being a tourist or to come for business. So it depends on the reasons that you want to visit the United Kingdom, and that will determine the type of evidence that you have to produce. If you're visiting a family member or a friend, they will do an invitation letter. They will show that they've got sufficient accommodation for you to live. If you are being sponsored by them, they have to show that they've got enough resources to look after you and to sponsor your journey and your stay in the United Kingdom. If you're sponsoring yourself, you need to show that you've got the resources to sponsor yourself while you are in the United Kingdom. The main requirement, really, which bothers the Home Office with visitor's visa is the proving the intention to return to your home country. And that, in my view, is a requirement that is in a way discriminatory to other nationalities because of where they come from. And the Home Office will be looking at things like, do you have assets? Do you have properties? How old are you? Do you have any capital or money? Are you studying, or you've got a business and things like that? If you are someone who doesn't have, say, properties, you are single, you are not studying, you don't have any money, they will refuse it because they will say, we don't see any reason why you will go back to your home country before your visitor's visa expire. So you need to prove to the Home Office that you will be able to return to your home country before the visa expire. For the visitor's visa, they might give you the standard 6 months, or they might give you 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years. But however, in situations where you've been given a visitor's visa, which is more than 6 months, it does not mean that you have been given a right to live in the United Kingdom for the 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years. You are allowed a maximum of 6 months within a period of 12 months for you to be in the United Kingdom. So you have to do the 6 months at one go, or you can come and go out. But as long as your calculated period does not exceed 6 months in a 12 months period, then you will be complying with your visa requirements. Another question about why is it difficult for African citizens to visit and stay in the UK, and yet the Europeans come to Africa without questions? I think that is more of a political question, the Europeans or the United Kingdom have toughened their immigration rules or requirements, and as you would always hear Priti Patel say, they would want people who are worthy to come to the United Kingdom in terms of being excellent, say maybe academic or in their field of study, or assets and so forth, coming to the United Kingdom. So it is quite a difficult question, but it is what it is at the moment, that if you're going to make an application to come to the United Kingdom, you must satisfy the immigration laws and the immigration rules as they stand at the moment. Another question is, what happens if someone delayed to renew his further leave to remain visa? So if you've got further leave to remain visa, it is advised that you make your application before it expires. So within the last 28 days of your visa expiring, you need to renew your visa. But however, if for any reason you failed to submit a new application or an extension within that period, then you have 14 days grace period to submit your application. So if you submit within the 14 days of your visa expiring, the Home Office will not hold it against you. However, if you submit after the 14 days, then you are now in breach of immigration rules, and whatever time that you had accumulated on your visas will lapse. So, if you are, say, on a 10-year route or on a 5-year route and you had accrued some time, and then you've did submit an application to renew after 14 days from when the visa expired, you are now starting again. So you don't want to risk that to start counting again when maybe you've done 8 or 9 years on your visa and then you have delayed. You might still you will maybe if get the visa, not maybe. If you still meet the requirements of a human rights application, you can still get it. Say you've got family, a spouse and children, or Article 3 cases, you can still get your visa, but your time that you've spent, you've broken the time that you've spent in the United Kingdom. So that's the main risk that you will face. If you are delaying because of financial issues, depending on your circumstances, I'll advise you at least one of two things. The first thing is you can apply for a fee waiver. And if you apply for a fee waiver, the Home Office will leave no stone unturned. They will look, they've got access to your financial information through credit checking agents. So even if you don't disclose a particular bank account or you don't disclose a particular financial information, they might dig it out and ask you about that. So you might apply for a fee waiver, or you can apply to the legal aid agents what is called exceptional funding. If you are successful in one of those two, then you can make your visa application and you will not be required to pay the Home Office fees. So the clarification on the question of the biometric card expiring is that it expires in 2024 and it's on settlement. So your settlement is not expiring. It is just the card that is expiring. Like I said, if as people grow older, some people change their facial features, change their body build and so forth. So it's just for them to update your information, really. And then you can still continue on your settlement. And it's important for you to renew the biometric card because any prospective employer and would want to see it, or is for your own identification, so people would want to see the valid biometric card. So your settlement will still be valid. And maybe before it expires, and if you are willing to consider naturalization, I'll advise you to naturalize as a British citizen. And on the issue of naturalization, some people would say, am I allowed to naturalize if I'm Zimbabwean? Is a dual nationality accepted if I'm Zimbabwean, or it's not accepted? And it is, in my view, a gray area. What the courts say and the Constitution says and what the legislature say might be different, but according, in my view, to the interpretation by the judiciary, you can have dual nationality as a Zimbabwean and as a British person. If you have a British driver's license, which you took when you had papers and it happened that you no longer have the papers because you had a work permit for parents and the parents left the country, are you still allowed to drive? You are only allowed to continue driving if you are still legally in the country. So if you no longer have your legal status in the United Kingdom, then you are not allowed to drive. So the Home Office, since 2012, when Theresa May was the Secretary for Home Department, they introduced tough conditions for immigrants to make the immigrants destitute, and then so that they can leave the country because of the hostile environment. So they started to say that you cannot drive, you cannot open a bank account, you cannot rent a house, you cannot access NHS on public funds. You have, if you're going to go to NHS, then you have to pay for it, and it's very expensive to pay for the NHS. So people who had driving licenses, people who had bank accounts, people who had their bank accounts closed, the DVLA sent letters to people revoking their driving licenses and so forth. So if you were lucky to still continue to have your bank statement and your driving license, then you were lucky. But ideally, most people had theirs removed or revoked. So the bottom line is, if you are not legal in the country, you are not allowed to drive. What implications is Shamina's case going to have should she win her case? If she wins her case because she was deprived of the British nationality on national security reasons, if she does win her case, then she will be given back her British nationality. And again, for any other people that had their British nationality nullified or removed, or they were deprived of their British nationality, then they might also have a door open. It might open the floodgates of applications to the Home Office for people wanting to have their nationality restored, citing that case as a precedent. So if it happens, then it will she'll have your British nationality restored, and that might also open doors for other people who had their British nationality revoked, as that will be a fundamental major change in the law. Why is the age so much of concern when visiting, and why is it also extremely difficult at the immigration offices if you cannot speak uh, any European language? So, in terms of age, I think they just generally believe, and I think they, like I said, it is discriminatory in a way, because they think that if you are young and you are still very productive and you come to the United Kingdom, you might just not decide to go back home, and you might then start looking for work, whether legally or illegally. So, but when you are advanced in age, and most unlikely, you're unlikely to then want to remain in the United Kingdom, because you cannot work. Maybe you're over the age of retirement, you're on pension, or if when by that age, maybe medical conditions have also caught up with you. So it is something that is stereotyping on the part of the Home Office, and in terms of speaking the European language. I think most countries would expect you to speak their language. I once visited France. I couldn't speak French. My daughter and my son could speak a little bit and understand it, but the French people, they were speaking their language, and we had to rely on Google Translate and the little language from what my daughter and my son were understanding. So, but it also maybe it's also maybe important to put an input on trying to learn the language of where you are visiting, because they normally want you to have at least the standard English or language understanding. So that's why when you come to the United Kingdom on long-term visas, they ask you to do the English test, like the A1 test, the IELTS test, which most people complain that it's very difficult for those people who want to come on the skilled worker visas, the support workers, the nurses, the social workers, and so forth. So there's that requirement at the moment as it stands, that you have to pass the English test. A follow-up question on the issue of the 4 deportation orders, where someone has got 4 deportation orders and a British child. They wrote to the Home Office asking them to go for biometrics in 2019. and the Home Office is too quiet at the moment. So you sent 2019 and you are in 2021. That's 2 years now. I would say that yourself or your legal representative can communicate with the Home Office to just ask them what is happening, or ask them to make a decision. Um, if they are willing, they will make a decision then, or if they do like they normally do, they will just send a standard letter to say we are aware of your case. It has got it's a very complicated case. We'll get back to you in due course and so forth. And these days again, there's a backlog due to COVID-19. So, but I think it's a good idea for you to call them, and rather I would suggest that you send them a letter or an email so that you have a written trail of what is happening. So contact them, because 2 years, I think you have got a right to just try to check what's happening with your case. Does the law also goes for investors in the United Kingdom? That's the law, I think, of speaking for the English requirement. And I believe that the English requirement applies to all the visa applications for over 6 months, except I think if you are in the country already and you've sought refugee status, or if you are joining someone who is a refugee in the United Kingdom, then you don't need to satisfy the English test. But if you are coming as an innovator or a startup business, or as a student or a skilled worker, then you need to satisfy the English test. If you're coming as a startup or as an innovator and you've been endorsed by an endorsing body, then that should be fine. And I think those are some of the things that they will be looking at when you get endorsed as well. And before you get your sponsor certificate from your sponsor as well, if you're coming on, you've got a sponsor who's sponsoring you to come on as a skilled person. How long does it take to get a reply when you have submitted a fresh claim and you have paid the Home Office about 1,000 something in the IHS fee? Okay, so in this case where you have made an application to the Home Office, their standard turnaround time used to be 6 months, a maximum of 6 months. They should have made a decision. They've since removed that. They are saying that they can make a decision as and when the circumstances and the pressure allows. So you don't. There's no standard time now which they can make a decision. But from practice at the moment, from experience, I think anything to 6 to 8 months, you should expect a decision from the Home Office. However, if that is too late for you and you've already made the Home Office application, you might consider withdrawing your current application, pay again the £1,033 and the £1,560 with an additional £800 for priority. And then once you have done that, you withdraw the old application so that you'll be refunded your money on the old application and you get a quicker decision. Otherwise, you just have to wait. If it's over 6 months and you have not heard from the Home Office, I would suggest that you contact them. There is a link on which you can contact the Home Office through the gov.uk website. You can just check that. You can send me an email or a WhatsApp. I'll send you the link where you can follow up your application with the Home Office. How can I apply for my spouse and how much is it? What are the requirements? How long does it take for the spouse visa to come out? Okay. If you want to apply for your spouse, yes, you can do that. So it depends where the spouse is as well. Is the spouse in the United Kingdom, or is the spouse outside the United Kingdom? If the spouse is in the United Kingdom, did they have a visa before, or they didn't have a visa before? It is important to consider that if someone didn't have a visa before and they make an application within the United Kingdom, then they will go on the 10-year route. So it might be advisable for them to leave the country, make an out-of-country application if they want to come back on a 5-year visa. Some people, or most people, are afraid to leave the country if they've been illegal in the UK for a while. They'll just say, okay, I'll just go on the 10-year route. It will take you 10 years to get your indefinite leave to remain. If the spouse is outside the country, again, they will need to satisfy the immigration rules on how to leave to enter the United Kingdom. So they should prove that there is a relationship between the sponsor and the applicant. Maybe they got married or an unmarried partner for 2 years or more, or a fiancé. You've got the evidence of communication, money that you send each other, and so forth. And then you're also eligible as a person yourself, no criminal convictions, and you are legally in the country where you're supposed to be. You have passed your English test, A1 English test, you have done your TB test, and so forth. And then the other requirement will be the financial requirement. You need to satisfy the requirement that the sponsor is called, or at least there is a household income of more than £18,600, which can be proved through employment, self-employment, savings, pension, investments, certain particular investments, certain benefits, and so forth. And there is a calculation that the Home Office does if there's a mixture of these sources of income, and if you have got, say, employment and savings and so forth. There is a methodology, a calculation that the Home Office does, and it just depends on what it is at the time. So as a rundown, those are the requirements for a spouse visa application. In country or out of the country, you need to, if it's you need to show that there's income of at least 18,600 if you're going to go on the 5-year route, the English test, and if outside the country, the TB test. If this cannot be met, someone can also try to just do an application on human rights. Whether you're in the United Kingdom or you're outside the United Kingdom, you can try to show that there is, for example, family life, and there is compassionate and exceptional circumstances, and you need to join your spouse for, say, maybe they've got medical problems or mental problems, or they are struggling and suffering by their children themselves, and so forth. If the evidence is there to prove it, then you can submit such evidence to get it under exceptional and compassionate circumstances. When can the period of stay be revoked if you are an investor in the UK, and what is the legal way to live with your whole investment? If you come as an investor in the United Kingdom, I believe you will get at least the first grant will be 3 years, and then the second grant will be 3 years. But after 5 years, you qualify for indefinite leave to remain, which is called settlement. And then after your settlement, which will be 6 years, after your 6 years, you are now eligible to apply for a British passport. You can naturalize to become a British person. So unless if you have breached your immigration conditions, then that's when they will revoke the investor, what you are calling the investor visa, which might be a startup or an innovator, or you have invested 2 million and so forth. If you invest more than, I think, 2 million, it can be even on a fast track route. I think after 3 years, you can become a British nationality. And if you want to take out your money, yes, there is always legal ways to take out your money. You can just transfer it to whichever country that you're going to transfer it, subject obviously to money laundering requirements and so forth. So as long as the trade can be proven and you meet the costs and so forth, you can withdraw your money and send it wherever you can send it, or you can transfer it to. So most investors, the reason why they're investing is they are looking at a long-term plan of them remaining in the United Kingdom for longer. Because, if you're going to invest £50,000 in the United Kingdom, and then for you to recognize your profit, it should be a long-term plan. So if you do have the resources for it, I think you can remain. So the period, as long as you abide by the visa requirements, there will be no reason why they should ask you to leave the country, or there's no reason why they should revoke it. Or when you renew as well, if you submit all the evidence that is required, even if you say the first application is refused, and then you can either appeal or do administrative review as necessary, or you can just submit a new application within 14 days to address the reasons why the reasons which the Home Office had refused the application in the first place. Okay. I appreciate so much your questions and your contributions. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Tanlo Solicitors. We have got more than 30 videos on there, which you can also watch, and some of them addresses some questions that people might have. Okay, the person asking for the link for the skilled workers, can you send me a WhatsApp or an email? Then I'll respond to that with the link tomorrow morning after finish the show. Tomorrow morning I'll be able to respond to that. So if you email me, the email is on the screen, or send a WhatsApp message, I'll be able to respond to you. Okay, it looks like I've exhausted all the questions that I have on the screen. While I just wait for one or two other questions, I would just comment on EU applications. As you would know, last December, the United Kingdom left the EU, and up to June this year, there was a grace period, the 30th of June, for people to submit their pre-settled and settled status applications to the Home Office. Some people did submit them and they were successful. Some people submitted, they were not successful. Some are now challenging the refusals by the Home Office, or some are resubmitting, addressing the refusal points raised by the Home Office. And for those who were not aware, or for those who delayed, you can still make the application, but you now have to show or to give the Home Office reasons why you didn't make the application in the first place. So if you have got any reasons, like for example, if you are a sole care of EU or a British child, you can still make your application under Zombrano, so that you can switch over to that visa, or you can, if you still have, but for those people, for the EU people who for their British partner staying in outside the UK in Europe, they can still rely on the Surinder Singh route. It's still valid, I think, off my head, until June next year. I would want to think so, but whatever month it is next year, you can still make an application on Surinder Singh if you have lived with your British partner outside the UK, I think up until December or things like that, but it is still valid off my head. So if you've got a European partner or a European child, or you're sole care of a British child, you can consider the EU applications, which are a bit lighter in terms of the requirements as compared to the applications that are made under the immigration rules. Okay, so I want to thank you all for your questions and your contributions. We do not have any further questions coming in. I think I've got the last one, which is: during the time of visa processing under review, does the funds be frozen at this stage? I think it's a follow-up question to an investor visa. Off my head, as long as you are challenging a visa, either under appeal or judicial review or administrative review, Section 3C or Section 3D of the immigration rules come into play, And Section 3C and 3D basically mean that the visa conditions of the visa that you had are automatically extended by operation of the law, and you will be considered to have those conditions. So if your visa is under review, your funds should not be frozen. If you were, for example, an employee, then you are still allowed to work. If you were an investor, you can still continue to invest. If you were studying, you can still continue to study until and unless you have exhausted the channels that are available to you. Then at that stage, you become an illegal immigrant in the United Kingdom. And then at that stage, that's when I think funds or can be frozen, or you can't continue to work, and that will now be outside of the law. So as long as you are challenging it, Section 3C and Section 3D of the Immigration Act of 1971 will protect you. Okay. Thank you so much, and have a good evening if you are in the United Kingdom, or wherever you are, if it's morning or day. Thank you so much.